Welcome to the Joshua Project Podcast. Oh, yeah. This is our new series that we're doing called Joshua Project with Friends, Episode 2. How cool is that? But I was thinking the other day, some of y'all been listening to the JP podcast for a number of years, and then there was this hiatus, and you're like, wait a minute, you guys are back. What's going on now? Hey, if you haven't been following the story, my family was called out of California. I mean, that's a hard decision to make in and of itself, being a beach boy. But yeah, here we are, pastoring a small church in Livingston, Montana. And I'm a pastor, so I'm going to give you some numbers because that's what pastors do. We measure ourselves and our success by numbers. Well, maybe most do. I don't really care about numbers, but it is pretty cool to share with you that we started here with 0 kids in this church. And now we have a thriving children's ministry called Kingdom Movers. This next generation that's actually moving the kingdom for God. Before I got here, there were 0 baptisms for 5 years, and we're over 30 now. We've stopped counting how many baptisms we've done, and we've increased church membership, and it's probably a whole new demographic here, actually. And it's the hardest job I ever took on. Nobody ever told me about how hard it was to be a pastor. So if you have a pastor and you've texted him and you've called him and he's never texted you back or called you back, man, I'm just a pastor of a little tiny church, and I get that now. I like when my sending pastor calls me and I ain't got no time to give him a call back. The shoe's on the other foot now. But today we have someone who's become a close friend of mine in Montana, Cody Wood.
Hey, Bryce.
What's up, cowboy?
Oh, not much, man. Just enjoying this quarantine life.
It's a little different, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm actually loving it, man.
Okay, so let's just get into it then. What is it about quarantine? What is it about lockdown that you can actually sit here and say out loud that you're enjoying it?
Man, so I've got 3 kids. As you know, I've got 2 13-year-olds and an 11-year-old. And literally, man, we're pulled in every different direction because of those 3. And then I'm trying to run a business, and my wife is a nurse, and we're just pulled all over the place all the time. And all of a sudden, everything just put the brakes on. I mean, everything is slowed down. My kids are at home more. I'm at home more, and like the bonding and all of the fun that we've had as a family, man, it's priceless. Like I'm loving it, man. I'm absolutely loving it.
No more rushing back and forth between volleyball practice and cheer practice and violin recitals and football practice. And
Yep, absolutely.
I could feel that. Mine was a little different. Mine was running back and forth between cheer practice and bowling practice. Hey, man, Shane can very well become the next kingpin.
Yeah, I
Um,
look forward to that.
hey, you mentioned it, so I just want to throw a huge shout out there to your wife and all of the essential workers, but especially those working in hospice and the hospitals right now. Maybe explain to us who aren't in that realm. We've heard stories of nurses and doctors that have actually isolated themselves from their families because of they're in hospitals that are highly contagious. So they've been without their family. They've been out without that personal touch for a few weeks now. What's the story like? What's the temperature at your house with your wife working at the hospital?
Well, for us, man, so Ange has actually been a part of the whole testing process. So she actually works and has done the testing for the COVID. But she's all donned up. She's got the whole PPE, the face mask, the shields, all the stuff that you see on the news and you've seen on reports. That's what she wears whenever she's in the testing clinic. And she's been in there quite a bit and has been around people that have either suspected of being sick, are sick, all those types of things. And whenever they first asked her to be a part of it, we had this conversation about, one, do we do this? Do we put our family at risk in this way? And if we do this, what do we do as a family? So the first question of do we do this? My first initial gut reaction to my wife being put in that situation was no. Like, I don't want my wife to be put in that. But then after that initial reaction, it's like, no, there's two types of people in this world. There's the people that run from situations, and there's people that run into situations.
Yeah, right.
And we decided as a family, we're going to be the people that run into situations, and we're going to do that with boldness and with courage, and we're going to be there to help people in whatever way. I've got a background. I used to be a firefighter and EMT as well, and I've actually volunteered or offered to volunteer if things do get crazy down there as well. So we're just sitting on ready as far as that goes. And Ange, every day, she's just grinding it out, doing her thing there at the hospital. And since then, since she's been doing it, we do have some friends whose wives and husbands are in the medical field, and they literally haven't seen their families for weeks. And we just decided that we weren't going to do that.
Mm,
And that's, I think it's all a personal decision, because, and it's no judgment on other people. I can only tell you how we feel, and what we're doing is we're not going to live in fear. I feel like if she's supposed to get it, if I'm supposed to get it, we're going to get it no matter what we do. And we serve a sovereign God who's going to take care of us one way or the other, whether we get it or not. Now, that doesn't mean we're being stupid. We're not walking around licking doorknobs and doing stupid things. And we're kind of sticking to the house, sticking close, only going out whenever we have to. But we're not gonna live in fear. We're just gonna trust that everything's gonna be okay, and God's gonna work it all out.
yeah, kind of a fitting testimony as we find ourselves approaching Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. Man, there's a sermon in there somewhere.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I believe that yes, we should be taking precautions. We should be safe. We should obey and follow the recommendations of our governing authorities. And honestly, man, I wrestled with that. I think I talked about that last Sunday sermon, but I really wrestled with the fact of like not assembling for church. Like, come on, man, we got the blood of Jesus, man. We're gonna meet. We're gonna do so boldly and courageously. We're not gonna be scared, man. The worst thing that happens is we get to go home. But then I
Right.
thought, well, there's something that happens there. We're putting other people at risk now. We aren't obeying the governing authorities. And we're also saying to the other churches, like, dude, look at us. We're a little bit more holier than you. We have a little bit more faith than you because we're so I decided, you know what, let's just get together in unity with what the local church is doing. Um, and it's been a struggle for me, but I think it's the right decision. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I want to bring this one up. You may have seen some of these social media posts. You may have heard. I'm just throwing this out there. I've done about 2 seconds of research on this, but I heard this report of this person walked into a hospital in New York, and it was empty in there. They were talking about this mass need of respirators and ventilators. And so this guy says, I'm going to go into my local hospital and check it out. And it was empty in there. I don't know.
Well,
What do you want to say about like that?
so that's interesting. You bring up New York. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist as well. Maybe not to the level that you are, but I don't necessarily buy everything that's being spoon fed to us. But I actually have a buddy right now that I went to high school with, who's an RN, that is a traveling RN. So he does contracts, and all that. Well,
Right.
he actually is on day 3 right now of being in New York, working at a hospital in Queens, and he's kind of an ICU specialist. And so he was saying that the hospital that he is at, and see, I just touched my face. You see how I mean, I'm being real proactive with this COVID stuff. But anyway, he said that there you go. I think one night they had like 16 codes, and he's been taking care of like 8 patients on ventilators. So I mean, it's from what I'm hearing, boots on the ground from somebody I know.
Yeah.
Um, I mean,
Frontline stories.
yep. I mean, he's at least going through some of that stuff too.
Now, wait a minute, though. Let's go back for a second. You said, I'm not as big of a conspiracy theorist as you are. What the heck does that mean? What conspiracy theories have you heard me stand on?
Yeah, no, that's true. But no, I think that one of the things that I'm concerned about is I'm pretty libertarian in my views, and part of that comes from the fact that I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah, sure.
And I've got a little bit of a problem with how some of our civil liberties are being pulled back right now.
So I went for a hike yesterday in Big Sky. It was an absolutely beautiful day here in Montana, and we had all been cooped up for so long. My brain wasn't really working. It was great to be out. It was so beautiful. I could not believe the amount of people on the trail. Now, we were the first one on the trailhead and the second one up the mountain. That says a little bit about our speed, but I was surprised with how many people were out. Now, it was actually pretty cool, right? Because you're on the single track trail. And so when someone would come up or down, somebody, usually the one going down, would jump 6 feet off of the trail. We are practicing our social distancing even while we're able to get outside and enjoy. But like, dude, Oceanside, California, they've shut the beach. You can't even get in the water to surf. And yeah, that bugs me. I don't like, dude, how are you going to tell me that I can't be in the water surfing? I'm not near anybody.
Right. Well, Washington has shut down fishing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then because of Oregon, or Oregon being right there, out of solidarity, Oregon also has shut down fishing in their state.
Yeah.
Which that it just boggles my mind. Um, so, and like I said, some of that's me just not being told what to do.
Hey, so tell us a little bit about your family and how, quote unquote, church has changed for you. Like, kind of like walk us through that. Is church still a Sunday activity? Are you guys finding yourselves doing church like more often, more personal time, more family Bible study? What does church look like for a family?
Well, for us, it's been what. Yeah, we haven't had the Sunday service, but again, like it hasn't. Beyond that, it hasn't changed much. Just because we're constantly trying to put things in our kids' paths, just on a daily basis, and in conversation that pushes them forward, that grows them. What I will say though is, I guess even before this, we've been real conscious of our dinner time. So like at dinner every night, we eat together. We don't fix and then go different directions and watch TV while we eat, or any of that sort of stuff. We sit and we eat as a family, and that's an opportunity for us to talk. And what I found is our dinner times are lingering more and more. So and that's that opportunity after we get done eating, our opportunity to really, as you said, kind of do church. So in some ways, most days we are doing church, as far as we're talking. The kids, I know whenever the stuff first got started, the kids were real worried about what that was going to look like. And we talked about, that we're going to put our faith in God through this. We're not going to let fear overtake us. We're going to be smart, but we're going to walk in His promises. And then, so I would say that I wouldn't necessarily call what we do very structured per se, but it's definitely very organic, and it's very much meeting the kids where they are right now. and being able to walk them through that. And it's funny as we've been trying to kind of teach through and talk through some of these issues, it's again like reassuring to Angie and I, and it's bringing up all of those promises that we've stood on in years past. It's bringing all that stuff back up for us as well as we walk through it with our kids.
Right. So are you guys tuning in online to a church service like on a Sunday in your pajamas with a cup of coffee?
Yeah, we've watched the services at First Baptist. Just kind of, I think one time we were in bed and just laying there watching it in bed. We haven't. Let's see, on Easter, we're going to be a little bit more structured about it because it is
Okay.
Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
We've already kind of talked about what we want that day to look like. So we're actually going to, instead of watching it on our devices, we're going to hook it up to the TV, and we're going to watch it on the TV, and so just so that it's bigger and a little bit more engaging,
Yeah.
versus watching it on a phone or an iPad.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. We found very similar with like dinner times where we actually get to gather around the table. Um, Normally Naomi's at cheer or Shane's coming home from bowling. And so it's so sporadic, and sometimes we cook and then Naomi eats later. But dinner time has often turned into a family game night. One time I was even talked into doing a TikTok. I highly encourage you, Cody, to participate. You have two girls at home. I'm sure we can rile them up to get you involved. I would love to see your TikTok.
Yeah, I assure you that will not be happening.
It could happen. It happened for me. I could assure you too.
Yeah,
I told
well,
them, nope, nope, it ain't happening. But guess what happened?
yeah. Well, we did have actually a TikTok dance night at our house as well that again I watched but did not participate.
Okay,
And
well, you know what? This is where we could work on not being fearful anymore. And
yeah,
hey, one of the things that I think a lot of us are doing is some home projects, and I've noticed via the great wide world of social media, you guys have done some pretty cool family projects. So, what have you guys been working on?
yeah. So what, two weeks ago, we built raised beds for a garden that we're going to have this here in a couple weeks, month, whatever, this summer. So we built raised beds as a family, which was pretty cool. It's what is it? It's a kind of a U-shaped, and it's 12 feet by 12 feet by 12 feet. So pretty good sized raised bed. And then we bought some chicks. We're not these people that are panic buying chickens, which is kind of a weird thing to me. They can't keep chickens here locally, the little baby chicks,
Yeah.
because they're being sold out in like an hour here,
Wow.
from people literally panic buying chicks, and they have no idea what they're going to do with them. But we have had an old coop. I've had chickens before. We just, with everything going on the last few years with building the house and stuff, we haven't had any chickens. So we bought 17 little baby chicks last week. So kids are all part of helping with that. We had to redo the coop. We repainted it, cleaned up some of the area. So that's all pretty cool. And then this weekend we're going to do some more work around there. We're actually getting pigs as well. So come November we're going to have pork for days. What else? I'm also building a root cellar. So that's going to be kind of an all summer project though.
Wow. Yeah.
So you got to get that dug out. I dug it out with a tractor as much as I could. Now I'm hand digging. So I get that built. Yeah, so I got tons of projects going on, man.
So you just said that you weren't panic buying chicks, but you just, if I heard you right, you said you had 17 chicks.
Yeah.
So is there like a ratio of like someone's not going to make it, and that's why
Oh
you
yeah.
get so many?
Yep. Yep. Chickens are born looking for a place to die.
Huh.
So yeah, they're fragile animals, man. So yeah, I mean, between predators, things getting them, hawks, the neighbor's dog, coyotes, stuff like that. And then sometimes they just die. You just go out in the coop and you'll have a dead chicken.
So I'm imagining then that there's this time in your day. We have a lot of time on our hands now because we're quarantined or we're locked down, where you're actually like got these little chicks in your arms, just kind of cuddling them as, in your lazy boy.
dude, you know me so well.
Yeah, survive, right?
Yeah, 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 dude. If I'm not gonna cuddle with my dog, I'm not gonna cuddle with chicks. So
I was
yeah,
just thinking, man, 17 chicks, that's a lot of eggs.
yeah. Well, I mean, man, our family, if we have eggs, we're going through a dozen and a half in one morning. I
Yeah.
mean, we buy them 5 dozen at a time from Costco, and so I mean, we go through a bunch of eggs at my house.
Yeah.
So, and then plus, if we have any left over, then instead of tithing, we're just going to give you eggs. How's that sound?
Right now, it sounds like a good deal. Although, hey, I did go to Costco yesterday. It was so eerie being at Costco yesterday because I could park wherever I wanted. They sprayed down the cart before I walked in. There was barely anybody in there. They had everything I wanted. I got Charmin toilet paper, not Forest Green toilet paper,
Oh, nice.
actual Charmin brand toilet paper.
The
Uh,
ultra soft or ultra strong?
Ultra soft. I like the ultra soft for my body.
I
Yeah.
I do as well. Yep, that's
Yes.
my go-to.
And but I was a little disappointed in the fact that like their menu was very limited. It said that they only had essential items. Somebody deemed that hot dogs and pizza were essential. I totally disagree, man. I wanted my frozen strawberry yogurt. To me, that wasn't an essential. I just got done hiking 6 miles and I was looking forward to that and I was quite upset.
Oh, they're at the food court.
Yes.
Oh, man, that's a now, but their hot dogs and pizza are pretty good.
That's true, but it's not what my heart's content was for.
Well, and they're not doing samples anymore either, so it's kind of like
Yes,
Costco's
there you
pointless
go.
now.
I kind of got that one, and I thought like, hey, I should be funny and go ask one of the people standing around here with a Costco badge on. Hey, where's all the samples today? Um, I'm sure they
Yeah,
probably heard that joke 100 times already.
yeah. So were they pretty full of stuff? I mean, was it pretty stocked at Costco?
It was pretty stocked.
Okay,
I got everything that I needed when I was there, and
nice.
yeah, it was just such a trip being in there. Everybody practicing their social distancing as best they can with a Costco cart, and they got all the plexiglass up between you and the cashier, and
Mhm.
they just tape your receipt onto the front of your basket now, so nobody touches it. Nobody. I don't even know why they have someone standing at the door. I
Yeah,
thought, you know what? I should just bring my receipt back in here, get a basket, and somehow wiggle my way past the cashier. And
yeah. That sounds like a good plan for a pastor.
yeah, I mean, got to take advantage of these times.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, hey, speaking of social distancing, I found a big advantage of social distancing now. So my teenage daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, has a boyfriend. Uh, they weren't putting labels on it, but now they're decided that they're boyfriend and girlfriend. So for whatever that means, I've met the kid. The kid's afraid of me, so that's a good thing. Well, he wanted to come over the other day, and they got this great big idea that he was going to ride his bike over to our house, and he lives in town, and where we live out of town, so he rode his bike all the way from town out to our place, and came out, and Daniel, who's the other 13-year-old, he found a stick, it's a board that was about 7 feet long, and wrote Corona, like Corona 2020 social distancing, and then put that stick in between them outside and said, "You guys can only get this close." And I think that might actually be something that we keep even after the coronavirus is gone.
Yes, it's still at your house.
Yes, it's at my house. It's going to stay there.
See, this is great. That made it worth tuning into this podcast right there.
Right. So I mean, I think that dating policy is awesome.
Is it okay if we do that with my wife?
Yeah, I think she'd like that.
Oh man. Um, Hey, how about leaving us with a good word? We're heading into Good Friday tonight and Resurrection Sunday. Tell me what that means for you and your family. You've been around the block, Cody. If you don't know Cody's story, he was a pastor for many years. He's a seminary graduate and a great friend. But you've experienced a lot of this in your walk with Jesus. So why don't you give us a closing word about Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday?
You know, as we think about Good Friday and think about what had to have been going on in the lives of the disciples on Good Friday, and those that stood, either there at the feet of the cross or those that knew what was going on, it had to have felt really hopeless. I mean, I can't even imagine this man that I would have followed for years and trusted in and believed in, and then to watch him be beaten and put on the cross and killed in one of the most brutal ways possible. It had to have been just a time of very little hope, and a time of despair, and a time of fear, and a time of really just not knowing what was going on. And I can't imagine what was going on Saturday. We talk about Good Friday and we talk about Easter Sunday, but what did Saturday look like? What did Saturday look like for those guys? Saturday was this dark day, I've got to believe. It's between the death and the resurrection. And I feel like right now, in the time that we're in right now, we're kind of living in Saturday a little bit. We're living in this space between, something bad's going on in our world, our economy, our everything looks bleak right now. And what are we going to do with today? What are we going to do with our Saturday? Are we going to tuck tail and run? Are we going to live in fear? Are we going to give up hope? Are we going to say, where is God in this? Or are we going to trust that what he has told us is true? And that, as the old, and I can't remember who it was now that said it, but Sunday's coming. And with the death and then ultimate resurrection, Sunday was coming. And as we live through these strange times right now, Sunday's coming. And for those of us that are struggling, those of us, like you said earlier, you're kind of not really, uh, you know, you're just not sure. You're things you can't think, and I'm doing the same thing right now. Where things are just all kind of jumbled up and mixed up right now. Sunday's coming, and God's going to work all this out. And in this craziness, these strange, weird times that we live in, none of this took God by surprise, and He's going to work it all out for His good and glory, and He's going to work this out for us because Sunday's coming.
Amen. Amen. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, Cody. I look forward to having you on more podcast. If you're just listening to the podcast and you're not watching this on YouTube, you can go to Bryce Maurer on YouTube and subscribe. Cody has a face for podcasting. So
Absolutely.
we are stoked to have you, brother. I just love to share our story with the listeners more. The way that we met and stuff like that, because I think it's a cool story, and I think it applies to a lot of us in life and in the way that we pour into others. And so that's my request as we close this episode number 2 of the Joshua Project podcast is, would you guys just go out there and love those around you, even the difficult ones? Love them the way that Jesus did, man. He left us such a beautiful example, and I believe it's worth following. So until next time, my friends, be well and love one another. Peace.